What's going on, guys? Nick Gallagher here, and today I'm going to be showing you exactly how I would do every single trick on the 2024 NAKO Beginner Trick List if I was a beginner. The first trick on the list is Candlestick. For me, I like to hold it with 3 fingers, my index, middle, and thumb. It's going to look something like this. Hold with just these 3 fingers here and get ready for the pull-up. The main thing I want to warn players about is actually avoiding pulling up super straight, because if you pull up too straight, you have a chance of colliding the Ken and the Tama before actually getting a chance to catch it. What I would do is actually pull it up from an angle. You can decide on the angle yourself, whatever is the most comfortable for you. I usually go from the side. Finally, make sure to catch it at the highest point. Use your knees to cushion down the landing. And as long as you keep that in mind, you're going to be getting the perfect candlestick every single time. The next trick is base cup. And now a lot of beginners get confused on how to hold this one properly. You actually want to hold this one with your wrist open. What I mean by that is, instead of having your wrist point sideways, you actually want it to point out in front of you. A lot of beginners hold base cup at a very interesting angle, making it very difficult to catch or making it simply just feel awkward. It's much more comfortable and a lot more efficient to open up your wrist, use your knees, come up, and catch it like this. The last thing you want to worry about when performing this trick on stage is having it hurt or feel uncomfortable. So opening up your wrist is going to not only make your success rate go up, but make your comfortability with the trick go up as well. Of course, just like Candlestick, we use our knees to catch it and cushion it at the highest point. And that is a perfect base cup. The third trick is small cup. In the video, they hold it Ken grip, so what you're going to want to do is hold it just like a normal big cup. And for catching on small cup, all you're going to want to do is change the angle of the Ken once you go for the landing. You want the spike to be pointing away from your dominant hand. It's going to be going to the right for me because I'm left-handed. And just by doing that, I'm able to get a perfect small cup. Notice how I didn't have to change my grip or how I'm holding the Ken itself. I just changed the angle of the Ken, make the spike go away from my dominant hand, and that is small cup. The next trick is big cup. This is probably the most simple trick on the list, but the rhythm is everything. Here's the rhythm I would use to make sure I get big cup every single time, and honestly, this works perfectly for all the other pull-up cup tricks on this list, so definitely keep this in mind for the Candlestick, small cup, base cup, all of these as well. The rhythm is 1, 2, 3. On 1, you bend down with your knees. On 2, you come up with your knees and up with the Tama at the same exact time. And on 3, you cushion the landing very subtly, just like an egg, again, using your knees. Once again, the rhythm is 1, 2, 3, down on 1, up on 2, down again on 3, cushioning the landing, getting that perfect big cup. Moshikame times 5 is super simple. I hold it like this. I use 3 fingers to support underneath the small cup. I use my middle, my ring, and my pinky. And then with my index and thumb, I come over and pinch the Ken. And this is how I hold Moshikame. Now, the most important thing to keep in mind is that the count starts after you land on big cup. So you're going to land on big cup here, and then you start counting to 5. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is going to end on base cup. For this one, again, the knees are everything. You want to cushion each landing, and I recommend finding a rhythm that works for you. Instead of having jerky movements and speeding up, slowing down midway, I recommend going at a constant pace from the beginning to the end. Make sure to not loft the Tama too high. As long as you use your knees to lift up the Tama like this shouldn't be a problem. You don't want the Tama going full extension and coming back down. You want to keep it nice and very subtle, all while using your wrist tilting side to side, just like so. Simply find your rhythm that suits you best, and you'll be fine. Big cup, bungee, big cup. It's a little tricky, but the main key point is to be very gentle. You want each big cup to feel like a normal pull-up big cup. So just like the first one here, boom, normal pull-up big cup. And then from here, you want to drop the Tama very slowly, using your knees once again. Not jolting the Tama back up like this. You don't want it to go too high, or else you're going to lose control and likely miss the catch. You want to go slowly down with your knees, bend down, and then once the Tama falls to the bottom, you use your knees again to absorb the impact and come up at the same time. Pay attention to the timing of my knees and watch how smoothly the ball comes back up. Perfect, easy big cup, no problem. Big cup, orbit, big cup, and Ken grip, just like in the video. It's going to look something like this. The main enemy you want to avoid here is the string, and I find that the best way possible to have it not get in the way is to have the hole facing you. So ideally, just like a big cup spike, you want to pull up the Tama in a way where the hole is going to face you. If the Tama is facing you, that means it's in a great position, and all you have to do from here is remember to use your knees. Remember the 1, 2, 3 rhythm. It can be applied here as well. Go down on 1, come up on 2, catch on 3. Exaggerating the movement of your knees is key here in order to make the catch as smooth as possible. And as long as you set up the tama in the right way, the string should not bother you at all. Frying pan spike is probably one of the hardest tricks on this list, but I'm going to show you how I usually do it. When I pull up for the frying pan, I make sure to have the tama facing me because this is the easiest position to spike from, which is usually the hardest part of this trick. Once again, using your knees to cushion the landing of the tama, having the hole facing me, setting myself up for an easy spike. Another way people can do this if they have really bad shakes and they aren't able to balance the tama on the frying pan that well, what I recommend is actually pulling up just like a dry spike, having the tama straight facing down. This is the easiest way to get the tama to stop dead on, and even if you shake, it's not going to move. The only thing is, spiking is a little difficult from here, and you're going to have to either earth turn it or drop it. I would personally do an earth turn. Next trick, easy spike, earth turn. Something simple here that should be kept in mind is making sure that when you set up with the easy spike, the string is not caught in the crevices of the small cup or the big cup between that bird area and the tama. You don't want anything tangled up, especially when you get to set it on the spike yourself. And simply just by making sure the string is out of the way, you're giving yourself the best chance for success at landing the earth turn. For the earth turn, it's all in the wrist and the knees. Once again, you're going to be tilting the Ken slightly forward, getting ready for the earth turn. And then for myself, I generate all the power for the earth turn with my knees. So I'm going to come down, come up, do a little flick, and land the earth turn. This one is going to take a lot of practice. It's going to take a lot of timing, repetition to actually be able to see the tama. But as long as you use your knees, and I mean really exaggerate your knees, use them for the setup and the landing, over time you're going to start to realize you're seeing in slow motion, you're going to be seeing that tama come around perfectly, and this is going to give you that best chance for success and not having to rely on luck or timing. Flying top is usually done incorrectly by most players when they start out. Here's how I do it every single time. For the spin of the tama, I recommend pulling inside towards yourself instead of pushing outwards. So you want to be pulling in. I personally use all 4 fingers. And the main tip is to be extremely gentle. You don't want to be sending this thing flying into the air. All you need to do is get it just a little above the spike, just a little disconnected, and you'll be fine. Separate the spike from the ball ever so slightly, like so. And when you do this, you're not only going to be keeping it very easy for yourself, but you're also going to give yourself the best chance at keeping that spin very, very straight and super easy to see. I find that actually spinning more of the top portion, not the bottom portion, works best for me. I don't want my pinky getting caught under here by the tama hole because that leaves a chance for the tama spin to get a little crazy and hard to see, hard to track. Once again, use your knees when you're coming up and going back down. This trick should be super simple when you apply this tip. Next up, we have Around Japan. This is one of the more difficult tricks on the list. The main thing to keep in mind is the setup of the tama. Now, when doing Around Japan, I actually find it easier to start with the small cup instead of the big cup. The reason being, when you go from small cup to big cup, you're actually spiking from the big cup. I find it a lot easier to spike from this position rather than spiking from small cup. I just think it's a lot more natural this way. And so I'm going to start with the small cup here. I'm going to pull up and make sure the tama hole faces me. That is the main thing you want to keep in mind, having the tama hole face you. From here, you're going to do your absolute best to lob the tama up into the air without actually changing the direction of the tama hole. You want to be very gentle with this, not rolling the tama off the cup so it moves in midair, it spins in midair. You want to avoid that, lob it up as straight as possible. And if you do this correctly, the tama hole should be still facing you when you land on big cup, setting you up for the easiest spike possible. Ideally, if you land on big cup and the tama hole is either facing you or your dominant hand, you've done well. Airplane, in my opinion, is the hardest trick on this list, but here are a couple tips to increase your consistency. When setting up for the airplane, you want to be holding the tama with your dominant hand, having the tama hole face straight up, and you want to be holding it around chest height. A lot of people hold it by their head or above their head even, and that's going to make it a lot more difficult than it needs to be to land the airplane. When setting up the Ken, you want to be holding it in your non-dominant hand, and you want the string hole on the Ken to be facing you. You want it to be facing your body. Find whatever grip works for you best. I personally like to hold it by the cup. From here, it's all about finding that timing for when you're pulling the Ken towards you. It's going to take a lot of trial and error depending on your string length, depending on how hard you're pulling. It's just going to take a lot of reps and attempts to get that sweet spot, that perfect timing. Also, make sure your dominant foot is out in front of you just slightly. I'm holding the Ken down by my waist in front of my non-dominant leg, and this is how I set up for the airplane. One small tip that I have that works for me when I do the airplane is initiating the swing up to myself, initiating the pull towards my body when the spike is actually facing the tama. So it's going to be facing slightly towards me. I'm going to show you right here. It's a little difficult to grasp at first, but that is my mental cue of when to pull up the airplane. Finally, we have the regular dry spike. This is no spin on the tama, just going to be setting it up with our opposite hand here, steadying it, making sure it stops moving. And then notice here how I hold the Ken with my dominant hand. I actually hold it at a very slight angle. For me, I'm left-handed, so the spike is slightly facing away from me. It's going to be facing diagonally up to the right. If you're right-handed, it'd be facing diagonally up to the left. Holding your spike straight up is perfectly fine. I just noticed that for me, holding it at a slight angle like this helps me get a perfect straight pull up for the tama, and I'm able to spike it very, very easily. When I aim for the dry spike, I am actually looking at the string hole on the top of the tama. You want to be looking at that small hole right there and imagining getting right underneath it. And combining all these mental cues, you are likely to get yourself a clean dry spike. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it helps. If you would like any more specific tips on any certain tricks you might be trying currently, join the Gallagher Kendama School. We meet in there twice a week. I've been having a lot of fun getting to connect with the members on a consistent basis. We've all been growing a lot, getting to learn from and teach each other. So if that interests you in any way, the link is in the description below, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.